we're gonna get rolling here. Looks like the chat is not working. My apologies there, but the Q&A is. So if you have any comments, questions as we go through this, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. We're gonna get rolling. Everybody should be seeing the screen there. Let's try the thumbs up option. Does everybody get a thumbs up option on there? Should be next to your name. There we go. All right, Aaron gave us a hand raise. That'll work. All right, everybody sees the screen. Excellent. We are recording and we are ready to rock and roll. All right, welcome everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Robert Linkle. If this is your first time joining us here, I'm the owner of TOA, Training the Older Adult. My beautiful and amazing wife, Keegan. Keegan is off getting her hair done today, out hanging out with her mom. So they're off and away. So I'm running solo here while I got my buddy Whiskey with me in-house. And it's just us boys. So we're going to dive into strong feet equaling less falls. I'm going to give you a pretty wide variety. Well, here, let me do this first. If you don't know me, here's all my stuff. I've been doing this a really long time. Master's degree in personal training, probably my highest level of accomplishment as far as education-wise. Such goes. I just got done doing a 3-year prison term with the NSCA on the board of directors. I just did 3 years there, plus 15 years prior to that as a regional coordinator and a state director, their trainer of the year, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm currently owner of TOA and also the director of education for Fit Body Bootcamp. Any of my Fit Body coaches on here, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We are going to get into the statistics and what it really means, what it costs, not only the individual, but for us as a country, what it costs when we have so many people that fall down. You'll be shocked by some of these numbers. We're going to look at some of the more common age-related foot limitations that occur. Now, the reason I say that, more common or common for age-related injuries, is because not everyone that gets older is going to experience these if you take care of your feet. I have an issue with not taking care of your feet. They are literally the two things walking you around this earth. And people that don't spend a little bit of time taking care of their feet, I just don't get it. I don't understand why you wouldn't take some care here. Now, and what I mean by that is from skin quality, just a little bit of lotion on your feet every night before you go to bed will go a long way, helping take care of dry skin. And then you get cracks. And as we get older, you start to get infections and we get different, all kinds of different, you can get athlete's foot and you can get infections under your nails and all this kind of stuff. Really important to take good care of your feet. So there will be limitations as far as common injuries, but also just lack of self-care. And we see it mostly with older men, unfortunately. And there are actually correlations between the less in shape you are, the less likely you are to take care of your feet. And correlations with that kind of go with, I'm not flexible enough or capable of reaching my own feet. Well, if that's the case, like go somewhere every month and have a pedicure, right? And that feet, manicures the hands, pedicures the feet. I think that's right. So long story short, you got to take care of your feet. Okay, super, super important. So we'll talk about injuries and other self-care. Then we'll talk about how valuable the feet are to stability. It's really the big toe. The big toe is the key in all this. We have clients that have fused ankles, okay? But they're really pliable at the big toe and they're totally good. And the big toe, the hallux joint, vitally important to keep this flexible and strong. So we're going to give you a lot on that today. And then we'll get into some assessments where you can look at somebody walk, but we'll consider the gait, their general regular walking gait, not knowing that they're being assessed. That's what you need to do. This needs to be done blind, okay? Where when they are just simply walking across the gym floor or whatnot, you're assessing, but you're not telling them that you're assessing them because they will change. I'll tell you a story about Keegan later on, how when you know you're being assessed, you show different practices. We'll get into some training protocols, things that you can implement with your clients, and we're gonna give you a whole bunch of demos, okay, at the very end. Do you wanna go outside? Yeah, go on out. Mr. Labored Breathing over here. Go out there, chase the chickens. Good boy. All right, let's get into it. Okay, statistics here. Check this out. 30% of the people over the age of 65 basically fall every year. 10% of those falls are fatal. The majority of these falls, these fatal falls, occur in the bathroom. 74% actually of those falls that happen indoors, they occur in the bathroom. These falls will occur due to slippery surfaces or them tripping on something, but also look at the other ones that come into this, okay? Big one's your environment. The dog runs into your legs, takes you out. You trip on a rug, on a electrical wire, anything like that. There was one, I read this story and it was hard for me not to kind of chuckle, but like a guy tripped on his Roomba, the little vacuum that goes around the house, the little R2-D2, right? Tripped on that thing as it was doing its job, fell and broke his hip. So these environmental issues are controllable, and we just need to take the time to recognize that. Medications have a lot of side effects that make people lightheaded, dizzy, or affect their blood pressure. Impaired vision, if your vision is just reducing as you get older, but also clients that will get bifocals and have like in-line vision, and then they lift their head up and it's out of line of vision, right? It's in vision. It's that much of just a small adjustment of their head will allow them to see the depth of the step they're about to go onto or not. And things that look like they are further away are not, vice versa. It's kind of like the mirror on your car. You know, things seem further away in the mirror. Very, very similar. And then in that moment too, it's just being cautiously aware of your surroundings and slight undulations in the environment around you. Small little dig at my mother-in-law who tripped over like a half-inch curb out at Apple Hill up here in Northern California. Rolled her ankle, one of the worst injuries I have seen from a rolled ankle, from mid-calf down, black and blue and purple, and then it turns green and yellow over the next couple of days as gangrene kicks in, and she lost the limb, but she's still with us. I'm kidding. She's fine. It's getting better, but it can be something that small, a little tiny, like the curb on the side of the road is 6 inches high. When it goes to the driveway, it drops down to like a half an inch, so water will continue to go past your driveway. Tons of people trip on those because they think it's flat and they don't pick up their foot. We'll talk about drop toes or toe drag here in just a little bit. So environment is a big issue there. Now, the last part of this is lacking strength enough to allow for better coordination that ultimately leads to better balance. Strength is the foundation of all of that, right? You've got to be strong enough to call upon the muscles, to coordinate, to react, to kick in when you need them, and to be able to do so with type 2 muscle fibers that allow you to react quick enough to not fall down. So some of the drills that we're going to do are going to specifically kind of address that. Let's learn how to move, then let's learn how to move quickly, okay? All right. Falls from ladders are very common. That's one of the more, especially this time of year, boy, lots of falls from that. And then just, you know, you'll see these increases, ER visits and just overall falls across the country every year increase from October 1st on, like these last 3 months, all the fall risk increases or fall injuries increase in that last quarter of the year, mostly decorations and such like that for the holidays, etc. All right, some further information here. This is the National Council on Aging, NCOA. And if you pop onto their website, they've got some good tools that you can utilize, and they've got some other resources on there, and they have some kind of membership. I don't know a ton about it, but I think that unlocks more info. I don't have any affiliation with them, but I found this to be pretty interesting. The financial toll for older adult falls are expected to increase, obviously, as we continue. Right now there was 27 million falls until 2025 was predicted, and it's going to increase by another 5 million by 2030. So basically 1 million extra falls per year is the average. This is a predictive measure based on the 2010 to 2020 escalations as they went up anywhere from 800,000 to 1.2 million falls every year. So averaging on top of what we're already established, basically people are getting less stable with every year. Now in 2020, non-fatal older adult falls cost about $80 billion in healthcare cost. So that is a ass load of money, if you know what I'm talking about. That's a lot of money. to be investing simply on people that have fallen down. Now think of all the other health concerns that we have and that they're going to have to concern themselves with. Falls should be the one that we can do the most about, right? And try to reduce that financial cost to the client, but also just the strain on the system. Make sure that people can access medical care when they need it. Here's your month to month kind of increases, undulations. Look at that, October, November to December. You see all those numbers increase right into New Year, and then things kind of settle down in February. So you can see that last quarter of every year, the numbers go up right around these holidays, super, super dangerous times. You can see the fall averages. This is in 2020. This is from the CDC's website. If you go on there and check this out, it's pretty cool. They have I think it was 3 years for this one. So it was 2017, 2014, et cetera. It goes every 3 years. And it went back almost 20, 25 years where you could see the falls per state and the percentage, everybody rising as we come up here. And rather interesting to see the growth in that. Not only and they have the breakdowns even further to where it's falls financial, falls injury risk, meaning they got severely injured, falls, and then death, everything else that comes with it. One of the most glaring concerns or the glaring stats that's increasing is people will fall and have a catastrophic injury. We'll call it a broken hip, a broken back, a fractured femur, like something along those lines that it drastically affects the quality of their life. Within 7 to 8 months, 70% of the people that it happened to, this is for 50 and over, will pass away. That was a glaring stat that stuck out. So basically, 3/4 of the people that fall down, if you're over the age, it was either 50 or 55, and you have a catastrophic break, your chances of survival are 25%. Within the next 7 to 8 months, they pass away. The older you get, and the number at 75 or older, it was 90%. So the older you get, the less likely you are to recover from these falls. Now, someone like my dad at 74 fell and broke his hip. At 76, fell and broke his other hip, recovered from both of those. From 76 to 78, right before he passed, was the most able he had been in the last 20 years. Dad was by far an outlier, right? That is not common. But Dad was also severely deconditioned and underconditioned and almost to the point where he was not capable of walking. And so he was at rock bottom and got very motivated, right, to get himself back to the point where Dad couldn't drive for a little bit. He couldn't move his legs enough to be able to drive and had to be shuttled all around town. Well, we got back to the point right before he passed, had his final heart attack, and 3 hours later was gone. But up to that point, was driving all over town and climbing up and down the stairs, no longer needing canes and such. My point is just because the statistics go in that direction and they're pointing it now, where I'll tell you this. Let me get face to face here so we can really connect on this one. This occurs in deconditioned, untrained individuals. The people that are conditioned and trained, these statistics are extremely low. There's just not enough people that have done that. We are in a generational transition right now where my generation, I just turned 44. Okay, my generation, I'm right at the end of Generation X. Like literally the last year and like 15 days of Generation X. My generation, it was very common and socially acceptable for people to be in the weight room. Men, women, anybody. Didn't matter who it was, right? It was socially acceptable for people to be in the weight room. The generation before me, it was athletes and mostly men, okay, it was socially acceptable. The generation before that, it was a freak for people to be in the weight room. It was a subculture, and people did not walk around wearing tank tops unless you were at Venice Beach or if you were in New Jersey. Those are the two places where it's been pretty socially acceptable to be a bodybuilder / muscle bound, and not everybody else think it was a weird thing. Even we're talking football players in the 50s, 60s, 70s that were lifting weights and other people made fun of them. Like, I'm a professional athlete and lifting weights. All of us, we hear that now. We're like, are you kidding? Of course they lift weights. But for everybody else, right, the regular folk, when you see all these statistics of falls and death rate and sarcopenia and osteopenia, all that, these are all individuals who do not lift weights, who did not grow up lifting weights. So if my generation is the first generation of people who, hey, all of us, you're supposed to be in the weight room, imagine what these numbers are going to be. Imagine how less of a curve that disability threshold will be with a generation that lifts weights, okay? Now, I could do a whole hour just on this. I don't want to bore anybody and get too deep into it, but just know that we are moving in the right direction for sure. Like, this is really going in the right direction, but don't stop. Don't let your foot off the pedal. Like, keep pushing this narrative that anybody, everybody, I don't care what your doctor says, no matter what injury they tell you you have or disease, other than one extremely rare form of MS, right? Of MS, Jesus, you know what I'm talking about, MS, multiple sclerosis, there we go. Other than one form of that, exercise, building muscle mass, improving your cardiovascular health will only benefit you. If not, increase your quality of life and or life expectancy, okay? I don't care what your health problem is. I don't care what the injury is. We have more than enough statistical information to support it. It's just teaching people about that. Well, I have arthritis, it hurts. Lift weights, it'll get better. Well, I have this, whatever it is, get stronger, you'll feel better. I guarantee it, okay? And it's not just Rob saying that. That's not just like, oh, this is my personal, anecdotally, it works for me, my people. That's not the case. We have thousands of research articles to support that. All right, common age-related foot injuries. Plantar fasciitis, basically plantar flexing, planting your ball of your foot down, going up onto your toes, lifting your heels off the ground. There's inflammation of the tissue at the bottom of the foot that causes pretty extreme pain in the heel. This hurts a lot. Arthritis of just any and all the joints throughout the whole body, but specifically in the big toe and in the ankle. Okay, you're going to see that as well. Gout is mostly due to poor nutrition, diet, but can be, in very rare cases, brought on by inactivity, etc., which still has a ton to do with the diet. Claw toe, no idea what that is. Just kidding. Toes that bend into a claw-like position, meaning they're overlapping or molding into each other. Sometimes you'll see toes, let's call the big toe number 1. You'll see 1 and 2 lap in, and you'll see 3 and 4 lap in, and the pinky toe will either taper in or stick out on its own. Claw toe can be quite painful, and also due to foot positioning, meaning if you're shoving your foot into high heels or different sandals, etc., it can dictate that. Ankle sprains, Janine, shout out. You're the queen of the ankle sprain. We're going to give you that record for sure. Cracked heels. This is a dry, cracked skin. This is why I encourage everyone, male, female, everybody, to put lotion on your feet right when you get into bed. Some people don't like that because they're like, oh, my feet are slimy and slippery. Find a lotion that doesn't leave your feet slimy and slippery. My lotion is Dr. Squatch, non-greasy. It is vitamin E, blah, blah, blah. Smells great, all this great shit. Okay, I've got 2 of these. I've got one by the bed, and I've got one. I'm not sponsored by these guys. I make no money from this company, okay? Just telling you who I use. I put one little pump of that in my hands along with a little bit of muscle butter, and I rub that on my feet before I go to bed every single night. This will do wonders for your feet because the older that we get, if you have diabetes, if you have neuropathy, and you start to get these cracks in your feet, in your heels, in your big toe, etc., bunions, etc., across the board, and they get infected, the opportunity of you losing that digit is very high. Ask my mom. She's missing 2 of them. Okay, 2 toes, 2 fingers, 4 altogether. Sorry to throw you under the bus, Mom, but you're a great example of what not to do. This is a big problem as we get older because the more digits you start to lose, the less ground contact you have, especially your big toe. The big toe is the secret success to staying stable and being upright. The stronger your big toe, the better. I'm going to literally show you exercises to do that are lifting, quote unquote, for your big toes. All right, corns and calluses, etc., ingrown toenails. Again, a lot of these are just care, right? If you're not taking care of your feet, you get a lot of these issues. And then Achilles tendonitis, just any itis is inflammation, overuse, etc. All right, other things that lead to this, make sure you have well-fitting shoes. I was just telling Keegan, I have the Go Ruck cross-training shoe. It's the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn. I have one pair that I lift in. I have one pair that I wear outside of the house to go walk around in. I have one pair that I only wear in this room most of the time. Screwed up yesterday, but most of the time I wear them only in this room. I have one pair that I only ruck in. And I've had those 4 pairs of shoes for 3 to 6 months. My weightlifting shoes, I only wear them 3 to 4 hours a week because I only train, lift weights 3 or 4 days a week. So for an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So if you do that, your lifting shoes will last 2 years, right? I mean, you can have them forever. Take good care of your feet by getting the appropriate shoes, have multiple pairs, and if they start to wear out and your feet hurt, replace them. This is super, super important. Staying active, of course, check your feet daily. I could not agree more. Wash your feet. Everybody thinks, well, I'm standing in the shower, my feet are getting clean. They're not. You got to scrub your feet. Wear lightly padded socks. I don't know about that. And then cut your toenails. Agreed. Absolutely. And the straight across thing, I've seen debates on this. I think as long as your toenails are cut short enough to where they're not digging into your skin, I think you're good. All right. As we continue into this, I want you to remember this intrinsic foot strength. Intrinsic, this is the key to the foot being really stable with that big toe is the intrinsic foot muscles that maintain or determine the big toe flexor strength. So that's going to be a key focus. All the toes are important, but again, the big toe is really, really high key. This comes from, you'll see the date up there, 2020, volume 80. This is in the Journal of Geriatrics, okay? Which I hope to get our study published in once we get our case study done here in the near future. Questions are working. Would you recommend these shoes coaching? I'll come back to this question, okay? I want to make sure I give good time to it. All right. This study, very cool study. You can read a little bit more about it down here at the bottom. But basically they had, and this is obviously technology we all don't have, but they had the ability to take these 78-year-old, on average, 78-year-old folks, there were 40 of them, and they were able to scan their feet and get 3D pre and post tests along with arch impacts of their foot on the ground. They had a very simple protocol that they did with these folks. I'll show you the exercises here in just a second. And I believe it was 16 weeks, is that right? I get these confused sometimes because I read a billion of these. But I think it was 16 weeks they did these exercises, and then they came back and they reassessed them, retested them, and saw all these significant changes in there, but specifically with the big toe. As the big toe got stronger, listen to this, the stronger and the longer their gait got. Does that make sense? Why would you start to take a longer gait if your big toe simply got bigger, or got stronger? Now, they were encouraging these folks, hey, try to, eat well and try to, be active every day and try to lift weights and try to do all the other things. But the one thing that we definitely need you to do, 12-week, here we go. This is a meta-analysis from the previous. This is one of the studies that was in that previous one, is to do this for 12 weeks and to do these specific exercises. Now they have the internal rotation, external rotation, toe spreads, arch ups, arch downs, towel curls. We're going to show you almost all these as we go through. The ones that I want to caution you on are the ones with the bands. Do you see those? Let's see, number 8 and 9. When you take the band and you wrap it around the toes, if people's feet are not conditioned to do this, you can cause pretty severe injury. My first big toe injury on my right toe came from this. I was trying to strengthen my big toe after a back injury, thinking that the reason that I had such pain going down, this was way early, I was like 19 or 20, that I had the sciatic pain going down my leg. I thought the pain in my foot was because of a big toe and an ankle injury. And so my physical therapist was helping me through this and was encouraging me with a band around my toe like that to do these little push downs and side to sides. And I had kind of relaxed my big toe in between reps, and it pulled it laterally or towards the midline it medially, and sprained my big toe. And ever since then, my right big toe is extremely sensitive to any application of pressure, either internally or externally, pulling my toe in or out via somebody else. So like if the kids will grab my feet, my youngest daughter, like tried to climb up on the bed once and grab my toe, and I blood curdled scream. Like it was that bad. It hurt so bad. And I thought, I was like, gosh, she just broke my toe. Nope, it's just this injury that we have there. So you gotta be really careful applying something like that, external force to your toes. I would do all the body weight stuff first for a while. We'll get a little further into this, but they give you some really good protocols and the results were great. Their plantar flexion ability got much better. Their ability to plant on their toes and get up on their heels, their ranges of motion, I'm going to give you all the stats here in a second. The ranges of motion got better. Their gait got longer. Some of them even stood more tall. Their posture improved because their gait was getting better. And their stability of their stability test, which there's 3 of them that we're going to do. We're going to go through them all together. The one, it's like the Rumberg test or something like that. I'll show you the name in a minute, where you close your eyes standing. Those scores were drastically better. And it was simply from these little implementations of these exercises. Now, I think it's a little overkill, some of these, especially the last one. Like if you're not capable of jumping, or if your clients aren't capable of like pogo stick jumping in place, then don't do that. But I think you've got some really good opportunities here to kind of learn from these. Regarding the intervention, training consists of both resistance and functional exercises seem to be the most effective in preventing falls in older adults. No kidding, right? So what we could all assume as, well, of course that would be right. We have now proven it. Now, what they also implemented in here is the 3D scans of the foot and of the arch and of the flat foot itself, and how much better it reacts on the ground. So you have a better base, a wider ball of the foot in the 3D scans. It showed that their feet got actually a little bit bigger in terms of ground reaction. Now their foot's not growing. What's happening is their toes, because they're training them, their toes are able to spread and like open up even more and get better grip, if you will, on the ground. The bigger flipper you have, more or less, the bigger your foot is at the base, and at the ball, the more stable you are going to be. So this all kind of comes into, instead of like smashing your toes into high heels and having your foot be very tiny and small, we want your toes to like fan out and spread out, almost like you're wearing like 3 pairs of those little toe socks, right? Where it like pushes your toes apart. That's what we want you to kind of visualize or shoot for, is having that kind of range and ability to open up the toes if you can. All right, here are our assessments. A couple of things we're going to key on, and I'll get up and do demos here in just a second. While watching your client walk, you want to see how long is their gait. And this is just a very general, like, just eyeball it. If you really want to get specific, and that I have yet to find a better way to do this unless you have, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that we have at universities, we don't have in a gym. What I did, and I've done this with maybe, 8 or 10 clients, I chalk the bottom of their feet and have them walk across the room. And what that does is it leaves the imprints of where the base of their heel is and their toe is as they take at least 4 steps, 2 with each leg. And what we then do is you measure from the left heel to the right toe, and you go, oh, that's 3 foot, 36 inches. And then you measure the next step, it's only 33 inches. 36, 33, 36, 33. And you can come now to the conclusion that when stepping with the left foot, we have a 3-inch shorter gait on that side, and yet they continue to walk straight. So what does that mean? If we're taking a shorter gait stride length with one leg, they have to deviate their body via their hip manipulation or their shoulder rotation or both to allow themselves to continue to walk straight because of their visual alignment and their spatial awareness. If they were to just close their eyes and walk, they would walk in a giant circle because they'd slowly be drifting left because they're only covering 33 inches compared to the 36 on the outside. Their NASCAR, left turn, left turn, left turn, right? Their NASCAR and all the way around, if you put them out on a football field and just let them walk blindfolded, they'd make a huge circle. Now, you don't have the ability to do that, or you don't want to make a mess in your gym and chalk the floor. What we want to kind of focus on is, are they taking semi-even length strides? And if you can get that to be 2.5 to 3 lengths of their own foot, that's great. So for easy math, let's stick with what we just had. My foot is 12 inches long. I'm a 13, but for easy math, let's go with 12. And if I step from my right heel to my left toe, there's my right foot 12 inches, my left foot 12 inches, and 12 inches in between. That would be 3 of my foot lengths. So we don't mean 3 feet in actual inches. We just mean 3 of my foot lengths. If you're a 10, then it would be 10, 20, 30 inches that we would want to cover, right? One of your own feet should fit in between the back heel and the front toe of your feet as you walk about. That is an ideal gait, if not more. Okay, that's what you want, is more. So technically I wear 13s. I should have a 39-inch stride. I have a 44 and a 42. That's my personal gait length. Keegan wears a women's 10, and I think hers were 33 30 and 33, if I'm remembering those correctly. Okay, so she had one leg a little bit shorter, one that was a shorter stride as well. And that means you've got a tight hip flexor or you've got a overly tight hamstring on the opposite side. And those are things you can work on through flexibility. As you warm up, this improves. But remember, people aren't going to warm up when they just go to walk around. We want this to be a cold, unassessed test. And the reason that we want that unassessed, meaning they don't know they're being assessed. So that's why when you're having them just walk across, if you say like, hey, you're being assessed, this is where Keegan's story where you may have heard this before, right? She goes to Fleet Feet to get new running shoes. And the guy goes, let me see you run. And she starts like Michael Johnsoning around I start chuckling as she comes up and she goes, what? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you don't run like that. You run a little more like Quasimodo-ish, right? Kidding. She has a different stride than what she showed him. And as we discussed it, she's like, well, I didn't want to look like a fool. I wanted to run good. So when you know you're being assessed, you will show a different performance. You will show a different skill set than what you actually do when you're not being assessed, right? If I asked all of you right now, I want to assess your posture, what does everybody do? We all get a little taller, we pull our shoulders back, right? Well, I don't want to be the guy that's slouching, right? So we all get a little taller. You didn't think about that until I mentioned it. So this is the case when we're walking the gate, they'll stand up tall and they'll take these long strides and you won't see anything. But if you just say like, hey, come over here with me and then let them walk in front and then take it. And so that's when we really want to take a look. If you really want to do a good job with it, video them, okay? Mind you, you're going to tell them that you just recorded them. In our agreement, by the way, our contract, it's written in there that they are going to be recorded during their workouts. So we put that in there before we even get started with people. They've already signed away their right to be recorded in-house. All right, do they waver or waddle from side to side? This is different from do they egg beat their legs, okay? So here is an example of me. Let's see, we'll go right here. Okay. You guys can see me, right? All right, so here's me waddling, right? As I walk, but my legs are still going straight. A lot of people will just be really, really stiff in their legs and they'll waddle their upper half versus they egg beat their legs when they walk. Their legs kind of go out and around. They don't have the ability to lift their feet up, so they swing them as they go around. So when they get the egg beating going on, you now create even less stability, like a spinning top with a narrow base. As soon as it gets out of balance, right, it's going down quick. As opposed to, let's try to get that even base. If you look at any regular 20 to 30-year-old that's healthy, they're taking these long strides and standing tall and turning over quick. But then you talk to your average 80-year-old and they have the Mr. Burns little walk and you're like, why are you walking like that? And they're like, well, this is the safest way to walk. I'm afraid I'm going to fall down. Like, why are not all the 20-year-olds all falling on the ground when they're walking so dangerous and quickly? It's because they have a good base. They've got a good ability to take long strides. So when we start to work with our clients, the last thing we want to tell them to do is take bigger strides. They're not able to. So don't tell them to do that yet, right? We got to build in the strength. We got to build in the mobility and the ability in their big toe, the hallux joint. We've got to build that in there so they can take bigger strides, or else they would be. If they could do it now, they would be, but they can't. They've lost strength. Then just their gait gets smaller, all the way down. So now the only way for them to really stay in good balance is to egg beat or waddle their body when they move their legs about. Okay, this is all a strength-based ability that we need to focus on. Do they have a toe drag or a drop foot? A toe drag is they don't have the ability to dorsiflex very well. So when they walk, you'll see it skip across their back foot. Well, it'll as it goes across, okay? A toe drop is when they go to break their foot up, they can't dorsiflex. So their foot's always pointed down and they're almost like limping along with their foot because they can't dorsiflex, pull their foot up, okay? I'm not great at demonstrating these, but you guys hopefully getting the idea. So toe drags or drop foot, either one of those, these are going to give us concerns. And then, is their posture poor? Do they tuck their tailbone? Is their butt tucked underneath them? Are they rounded in the shoulder and they have a forward head? These are all poor postural components. That means gravity's winning and just pulling down hard on these bodies. However, it means that they have really poor posterior muscular development, which is what they need to really stay stable and stay upright. That also means they're probably going to be heavy on their toes and that their center of mass is going to be beyond their belly button, which means the second they get out of alignment, they're going down hard. Like this is not going to be, this is a terrible posture to be in and unstable, okay? And do they have a general instability while standing still? We have a couple of clients that when we're just standing here, you know, talking with them, you see this little rotation. They're always just slowly kind of moving. And you're like, I'm getting seasick talking to you because they're always just in this little tiny wobble. And I'm like, what's the deal? They can't be still. They don't have the equilibrium or the enough strength to hold their equilibrium in place to not waver from side to side or to do little circles. So all things you want to key on here and focus on. Watch with these folks as you're kind of doing these initial assessments. All right. Is your client a fall risk? The 30-second sit to stand, 30-second sit to stand for repetitions is other than grip strength, is the most researched and most recorded assessment on the planet. Grip strength number one by like millions and millions of reps. I mean, so many grip strengths have been assessed worldwide. 28 different countries have done at least 1 million assessments, and each one of them, we've got at least 30. The US alone had 30 million. Worldwide, I think we've got, I don't know, almost 100 million assessment points of grip strength. That's why you can look at somebody and be like, hey, you're 70. You're female, you're 5'2", and your grip strength is 20, you're gonna die in the next 6 months and almost always be right. Like that's how specific it can be. They can go, oh, you're on 4 different medications, you have 3 major limitations, and you do not exercise ever. And they're like, right, and extra right. And they're just like, holy crap. It's almost, I think it was between 90 and 92% accurate in the last year of assessment. It was even higher before. It was upwards of like 94, 95% in the past. So they're getting to the point now where simply based on your gender, your height, your weight, and your grip strength, they can tell you quite a bit about you without even seeing you move. Just all you need are the scores. So to perform this, sit down, stand up, 30 seconds, take reps, right? And again, we're gonna fully lock out and not bounce off the box or the chair. Ladies, at minimum, 60 years of age, should get at least 12, gentlemen, at least 14. Okay, again, these are averages over all the assessments that have been done, the averages for, again, a whole bunch of deconditioned, undertrained individuals. So all of your really well-trained people, your 60-year-old ladies who've been with you for 10 years and they're doing deadlifts and they're doing step-ups, they're gonna do like 18 and be like, I was only supposed to do 12 to pass? Yeah, because they are outliers for now. But 20 years from now, that's gonna be the norm. Like that's gonna be the goal, is to make everybody a badass, okay, is what we wanna do. I literally want to end sarcopenia. If everybody would do 20 minutes of lifting 3 days a week, I think we could do it, okay? I think we could do it. If like literally every person was like, okay, I'm in, Rob, whatever you want me to do. And I'm like, here are your circuit machines. Let's make it super simple. Just go lift, right? 20 minutes, 3 days a week, good to go. It would have such a huge improvement. Timed up and go, the tug, timed up and go. Stand up, walk out 10 feet, 3 meters, turn around, come back. If the 12.5 second is the break of good or bad. If you're over 12.5 seconds, huge fall risk. If you're under 12.5 seconds, it's good. If you're under 8 seconds, it's even better. Remember, we don't want them to run, but we want them to walk quickly. And have them do a turn to the left and then have them do a turn to the right. So do it twice and see which one they do better. Just make note of that. All right, here's your Romberg. That was it. I was close. The Romberg test is where let's all do it together. Okay, let's do the Romberg. Everybody go ahead and stand up. And do me a favor, stand up. I'm gonna stay back here, but stand up in front of like a wall or a desk or something like that. So if you do happen to get dizzy and fall, you fall into the wall and you don't fall down and smash your head on something, okay? So this one's super simple. And as coaches, the first 5 to 8 seconds are the most telling. So when you start a client on this, be right next to them, okay? Be right next to them. So their hands just go down to their side. You're gonna have them look straight ahead. And what I tell them to do is vision everything that's in front of you right now. Take a snapshot of that. And I'm like, do your eyes like this, right? Like take a snapshot. And then after the snapshot, close your eyes and hold it. And in the snapshot, if they're visualizing the room and looking at that point on the wall, they still have like a internal point of reference. And we're just gonna hold here. And the goal is to hold for 30 seconds. Now in doing this, I got to do this for the first time with our physical therapist, Dan, in front of 100 people at a conference. And I was post-surgery for my hip about 6 or 8 weeks. And so I had this little sway from side to side because my hip was weak. And so he was able to kind of recognize that and pointed it out, and we got a good learning experience from it. Since then, we've gotten better at this to where ideally I can make this 30 seconds. I don't think I'm swaying too much, but I will feel a little like I'm a little heavier on my left, I'm a little heavier on my right. Like I got a little sway in there, but not bad, okay? So there's your 30 seconds. The first 5 to 8 seconds, that's when you're going to see people like, they're okay, they're okay, they're okay. And then you'll see them start to really drift, and just tell them like, if you start to move much, I'm going to grab you, right? Grab them by the arm, by the shoulder. Just let them know you are going to touch them so you don't upset anybody. Okay. All right. So there's your 3 like really good assessments other than the eyeball test that we did on this page, right? Other than these guys where you're just watching. Okay. You haven't actually asked them to do anything. You're just watching. Now we're going to ask them to do these 3 tests. Okay. Here are your official assessment scores. You can go to the CDC page and get the timed up and go sheet. It looks like this one in the middle. You can get the sit to stand one that's on the left. And there's your Romberg test there. You do both feet together, and then you can do a semi-tandem and a full tandem if you want, but just the first one is the primary one and what we're looking for. This says 10 seconds of each one, getting all 3, 30 seconds, or just do the bilateral feet even together. Just do that one for 30 seconds straight, okay? If you want a fancy version of this, send me an email and I will send you our version of it that looks really, really nice. It's super pretty. All right, protocols, here we go. We're gonna get into the big toe mobility, the intrinsic foot training dexterity, really, really important. Your ability of your big toe to flex 40 degrees up or more is a really key standard for us. Like when I saw this picture, the green one, I was like, nobody's toe can do that. I can't do that. I go to Keegan, boom, like 55 degrees. Like, of course, you're on the high end. Every client I ask, they could all do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm the outlier because I got about 40. I could get 40 in there. I'm like a little higher in the yellow one, right? I'm not Halex limitus, but I'm like in betweenius of the good range and the limitus, right? But what we really are concerned on is the rigidus, that bottom one where if they like cannot lift their toe up at all, huge fall risk, okay? They should at least be able to do 20 degrees at bare minimum, but our goal is 40. And we're gonna show you how to get them better at all this, okay? Now, dorsiflex, the ability to dorsiflex 15 degrees or more is this one should say, that's the dorsiflex. This one should say plantar flex, I'm sorry. Their ability to plantar flex their toe on this one, meaning they can flex their toe down now, low end of 10 and a high of 20. So we're shooting for at least 15 degrees on the flexion. That may not seem like a ton, but it is. Oh no, that is flexion. What am I doing here? Dorsiflex at 15 degrees or more. I don't know why that middle one's in there. This one for sure. This guy's, I'm gonna just get that out of there so I don't confuse people. Let me get this out of here real quick. Get that one. All right, there we go. I don't want to confuse anybody. I'm just confusing myself. Okay, so we're going to get our plantar flexion. Bring that one back up. Here we go. Plantar flexion, now we're below. I was like, why are my negatives not there? Negative 20 is our minimum, and then 50 degrees is what we're shooting for down there on our flexion. Now the assessment on this guy goes even deeper. You can check out this older adult fall statistics, kind of capitalizes on hospitalizations, et cetera, for clients between 60 or individuals between 65 and 90. And they were able to get some really good statistics on their mobility and their foot. That's where a lot of these statistics are drawn from, okay? So we'll showcase these as we continue further. The next article is this one from Human Locomotion. There's a website there I'll reference at the end as well. And they teach you and introduce the VEL leaning drill. The VEL leaning drill is this forward tilt, like my clients kind of jokingly call it the Michael Jackson, like the smooth criminal lean. You're trying to do that while not lifting your heels up. We're gonna do it together here in just a second for about 5 seconds, and then pull with your hamstrings, come back, and then lean into it again. This drill specifically targeted for 12 weeks, the ability of the big toe. Look at the picture on the left there. That is a dynamometer grip strength squeeze test for your feet. And the way they did this, super cool. They took the dynamometer, right? And they hooked it to a plastic piece, like a squared piece of plastic. They hooked the dynamometer here, and they had you push your toe down, and then they tried to pull this guy away. And as they continued to pull, it gave a poundage of how much your big toe could squeeze and hold down in place. So that's what that picture is of here, is the big toe pushing down on that piece of plastic, and the individual testing just continues to pull back until it slips. And once it slips, the dynamometer that they have specific for this gave a high-end resistance. And it showed that individuals that could hold, I think it was at least 22 pounds of pressure with their big toe, were 50% or less more likely to fall. And then those that could get upwards of like 30 pounds of pressure, I think, you could do this with a regular scale at home and look for those targeted pounds of pressure. Minimum 20, high end of 30 is really, really good if you can assess that at home, okay? Great website, social media site, Knee Pain Aid. If you get a chance to check them out, they've got really, really good videos just like this one. So let's watch this. This is that intrinsic foot strength that we were talking about, where your foot collapses internally. And so you're having to kind of corkscrew and pull your foot, your heel out, and like get a little bit more medially dense on the ball of your foot, and try to isolate your foot in a good neutral position, not allowing your heels to collapse. One of my clients, Mr. Chris, had a huge issue with this, and these are some of the drills we helped. The towel drill, if you're, what's Bruce Willis's McClane? John McClane. Remember, you make fists with your toes, and he's like, son of a bitch, he was right. This is it. You just use the towel when you're doing this, so you don't have like shag carpet right in your hotel room to do this with. This is a great one. This is right left, so he's alternating, right? Or you can do both at the same time. I'll show you a video of me doing this here in just a second. That's a really good one. Here's the fan. Close your feet in tight, spread them out really wide. Close them in tight, spread them out really wide. You can see, I love the dual camera angle where you can see the top and then the front view. That's awesome. Here's that intrinsic ankle and like internal rotation of the tibia. And then you could do it loaded if you want to, where you're really trying to, you'll see clients when they're doing a step up, or if they're doing anything lunge-wise rather dynamic, they'll just lose this ability of strength in their ankle, and you'll see that heel collapse in. This one in particular, I don't like the tennis ball, but this movement, this like big toe flexor, is one of my favorites. And I'm going to show you two slightly better, in my opinion, implements to go with. Notice I burned right through the massage of the foot. I'm not a fan of that. Unless you have experience massaging your foot like that, or someone has taught you, if you just grab a golf ball, lacrosse ball, tennis ball, and just start rolling it back and forth on your foot, your foot has 60 plus something different ligaments and like almost, almost 60 or 70 different muscles in there, and all these bony tuberosities, and you don't have a whole lot of fat in your feet. And if you don't have muscular feet, you don't have a whole lot of muscle in there. And so the ability to just take a golf ball or a tennis ball or a baseball, God forbid, and rub it up and down the arch of your foot is gonna cause a lot of damage. Oh, he got kicked off. Well, if you need to get back on here, babe, you let me know. Well, she doesn't know that because she can't hear me. She just texts me. I think that's really detrimental and can cause more harm than good. If you want to do a little bit of massage, like start with something really, almost like a hacky sack, like something really, really light, or a tennis ball that you've put two cuts in, like cut an X in it, like you're going to put it on somebody's walker, cut an X in it, and then use that one. So it's really pliable. That's what we want. The more rigid, probably the more massage value you'll get, but you don't have a whole lot of meat there to massage, and it's just gonna hurt, okay? And this is not a hurt good. So I don't really encourage anybody to massage their feet. This is a great one. What I don't like is the yoga blocks. See how the yoga blocks right here, they start to tilt up? We've had people do this, and then the box rolls, right? It flips, and they either bang their heel down or they roll their ankle. So be super careful with this. I'd rather you stand up on like two lifting blocks or D blocks or bumper plates or something that won't manipulate or move around that's solid. Okay, these are good too, alternating shifts from side to side. And this is another one. You got to be really careful with these. Don't overdo it. This is obviously somebody who does these often. So be careful when implementing these in, okay? All right, here's me. This is my foot, so please be gentle, internet. Don't be too harsh. Little squeezes, right? You're trying to roll through the foot, squeeze in there, get a grip on it. You can see I'm working on between my big toe, the I don't know, middle finger toe and my index, trying to get some good squeezes on there. So I'll do 4 or 5 of those. And then this is just direct downward pressure, trying to push the toe down, squish that ball and return. This is a indoor practice lacrosse ball. That's why you can see so much pliability into it. I'm gonna give you a link on where you can get those in just a second. I am doing the Vel drill right now. Leaning forward, you can see the pressure on my toes, heavy, lighter on the heels, but my heels stay down, right? Heavy toe every time, lean, heavy, return. This is the protocol here. This is our personal protocol on the left over here that we like to do. We will have our clients in-house. If they're in the gym doing this with us, we have them keep their shoes off, but their socks on. Or if they don't want to go through the trouble, they can just do it with their shoes on. That's fine. It's better with your shoes off. For sanitary reasons, keep your socks on. Unless you're at home, then take your socks off, of course. But in your gym, shoes fine, shoes off, better, socks stay on, best, okay? And when doing the Vel drill, the 5 or 10, leaning 5-second holds, and then dorsiflexors. This right here, what I'm doing, these are the dorsiflexors, these are the dorsiflexors, and in doing those, when we dorsiflex and hold that up position, it can be really uncomfortable right there. It can be really uncomfortable on the heels. So I encourage you to stand on an AirX pad or at least a towel or a yoga mat or something, because you are just shoving your heel down into the ground while dorsiflexing, trying to pull your toes up and your whole foot. Okay, you're trying to get the whole thing up there as you go. I'm just doing like 3 of each of these so you can see what we're doing. And you try to roll them up and roll them down just nice and gentle, right? Get some good range of motion in there as you can. Then we're gonna go to calf pumps. Ideally, they're up on, again, an AirX pad or something where they can drop their heels a little bit below the floor and then up into range. They can hang on to something. We're not worried about stability. Now we're worried about stability. Okay, this is the last one, the single leg, slight squat hold on a towel, an AirX pad, a yoga mat, something that is gonna create instability. So you have to correct. See all the little muscular engagements in my foot there, okay? And then I skipped the towel grab because it screws up the whole towel when you do it. But this gets you, yeah, there you go. Both toes, same time. Or you can right, left, either one. And you're just trying to bunch that towel up under your foot because it gets even more material under there, arches your foot up even higher. And it causes you to like grip more with your toes, and you just try to eat it up. The best way to do this one is with like a shower towel on a tile floor or wood floor. And you can put your heels on the tile floor and just the ball of your foot on the towel and just start, chewing it up, and just bring the whole thing in until the point where you just can't even move your feet anymore. You have so much towel under your feet, okay? All right, here are some wedges that I'm gonna show you. I don't own these ones, the top left, but they were the best rated ones on there, and they get the heights that we want. We've got a second 9, so you can have 2 18s, one for each foot. Or if you just stack all of them on one, you can get all the way up to 36 degrees on a single leg. And then, they come in a cool little package where they like interconnect and get into a little bag. And so this bottom one as well, this one has a 9, a 15, and a 24, and there's 2 of them. So you get 2 of each one of those. That's why it's $50 as opposed to 16. I've used the bottom ones. We don't own any Gym Doctors, but again, great value in these. Here is that lacrosse ball that I was telling you about. You can see how pliable these are, right? They're quite squishy. Even if you get one of these and you're like, man, that's still pretty intense, get these are hacky sacks, those little ones at the bottom. And those are pretty ideal for people with really sensitive feet or just starting off. You can check those out. Again, anything will work here. Just gives you some idea of what to shoot for. Now, this is the one that we have in-house. And I love these blocks, number one. This is Eccentric EXX. You see the website up there. If you email them or message them and say, hey, I'd like to buy these and mention TOA, say you're a TOA member, you get 20% off your purchase, but you got to tell them that. So anything, that goes on anything you want to buy from them, flywheels, K-pulleys, anything. But even just the basic accessories that we have here. This is a little tilt box, and that's the one that I have right behind me right there. It's heavy duty, it's metal. It weighs, 8 or 10 pounds. Like it's significant, it's dense. And you can't tell exactly what height you're on unless you're all the way on it like Linda's doing here on the left. But I'll start with people just down, with the ball of their foot on the ground and just their heels just slightly elevated. And then we'll slide up a little more and then get their whole foot on there. Now, not only is she heels elevated and getting pressure down on the ball of her foot, midfoot, her knees are getting some good drift, which is very quad dominant. She's wearing a vest, so she's overloaded, and she's going sub height of what she's comfortable doing when her feet are flat on the floor by about 4 inches. So we're getting a lot of good value there. Now we're gonna add in load via her grip instead of via the vest. And notice her toes are right at the base of this. So right at the bottom, there is a tendency to like tip forward. We're getting her to push her hips back and the knees don't drift as much. So you can get a very quad dominant version on this guy where you see her knees really pushing forward over her toes really, or a deadlifting variation of it where the knees hardly move at all. And that's where the versatility of these types of tools I feel like are really, really good. And you can also, like on the top of this guy, you'll put your foot at the very top. For split squats, I'll show you all those videos here in just a second. But then just the flat blocks, these ones up here for $50, I use those every single day, almost every hour, elevating heights to pull with, but then standing on for like a deficit deadlift or a deficit sit to stand where you're not tilted, your feet are just flat, but you're 2 inches higher than normal. They're really great blocks. So I encourage you to check those out. Any variation, any block would be good, okay? Here's your screen grab of our little menu, the one that I demoed there in the video just a second ago. So you'll get that in the PDF. And then here are some of the demos of the exercises I want you to be able to take with you here as we go. Oops. All right, so our first one is a suitcase style little 4-corner step. Right foot left, lateral right, posterior, lateral left, and then we reverse it. Lateral right, forward right, lateral left, reverse left. Overload with weight in one hand and change every time you go directions. Yep, so she just started with her right, and I said, oh, you started with your right last time. So as we continued in the next one, we just have her change it every time. Which one does it go first? It doesn't matter, as long as you get them both. Lead with your right one time, lead with your left the next time. Holding your right hand the first time, holding your left the next. It doesn't matter, as long as you just keep varying it up and changing some directions. These are very, very basic, where the toe's getting some break. This is your hallux rigidus, right? Your clients that barely can get any play out of that toe. Start with something like this. It's super, super basic. Then as they start to advance, right, we can start to give them a stick. I love this. Partially assisted strength training or stability training. PAST, partially assisted stability training. Elaine can get deeper as far as her range of motion goes for her foot because of the support stick, okay? Not in lieu of it. Like because she's got that support stick, look at the toe break on that back foot and how deep she can get. This is a very good kind of in-betweenius there, right? The limit is for us. And then as we start to advance her even further, right? You can see her advancement. She's up on a little sand block and wow, look at that flexion of the toe. We're getting up 30, 45, almost 45 degrees as she has rear leg elevated, lots of toe break. This went, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, took us a little bit of time, to kind of break in her toe there. All right, now let's get into some ramps, a couple different ramp variations you can do for your clients with really limited toes, right? We want to work in a reverse direction, but we're going to bring the floor up to meet them in that reverse position. This is really light stress on the rear foot, but lots of toe break. Again, give them PAST, partially assisted stability training, give them a stick to hang on to. Then we flip around and we're going to start doing some forward stepping. Now you think, okay, now look at Kenton in the back pushing the tank. That's really high end, right, on toe break. But on this one, you're getting heel push off of the wedge, right, off of the ramp. It's the back foot here that we're trying to get some higher lift on the toe as she continues to manipulate. It's the forward push, start to get up, just lighten up the heel a little bit. Now with Joyce is about as 5 out of 5 fall risk as we can get without her actually falling continually. So she's got a lot of work here to do as we continue. These are partially assisted step-ups, meaning she doesn't just hang onto the wall in front of her where she has no work to do. We're going to give her support sticks where she still has a good amount of support, but she's got to embrace it with her arms. So this is a full body functional lift. Toe break on the foot going up and down onto the floor, contacting slow and soft. As she gets into better rhythm and starts getting more support, I let go of the stick, and now she doesn't have anything to like pull on. She can only push down on it as she starts to progress, okay? Joyce come a long way as we progressed with this one. And then your high ends here, we're gonna get some band assisted, meaning band aided, split squats. Linda was pre-knee replacement on this one by about 3 or 4 weeks. And we were pushing as hard as we could, getting her as deep as we could in range of motion. Big high toe break on that back foot. You can see, look at that range. And that's like the big encouragement is get your heel to vertical if you can and get way up on that big toe, because the healthier the big toe, the better the fall risk. But the healthier in the range of motion here, the healthier at the knee, the better she's going to be at rehabbing back to that strength that we want. And she was back, I would say, 7 to 8 weeks to full function post knee replacement. Here we go with a continued assistance of the band, pulling her up and out of that deep flex position in the drop step lunge, but lots of toe break and lots of pressure on that big toe every time she drops. Now, the highest tension we can give is that rear leg elevated, way up on the toe in the back, trying to get sub-floor, but again, partially assisted. Let's give her a stick. Let's let her get a little bit deeper, bigger range of motion there. The bigger, the better. Okay, look at that for time. Usually I go a good 10 to 20 minutes over. All right, we got to go into this, give you some good details and some good actionable steps that you can do. Now, that starts, majority of all those lifts that we just showed are all done in the sagittal plane. And so we get a lot of people, that's a lot of sagittal work, Rob. Where do most falls occur? Forward or backwards? Let's start with that. Take a guess. Okay. Backwards is the answer. About 70% of the falls occur backwards. So that's why we do so many drop step, reverse lunge, rear leg elevated, etc. Right? And you can start by simply putting their foot back there and just practicing the toe break, but then drop step and return to standing. Drop step and then return to standing. Every time pushing off rather dynamically, quickly, to train the muscles to react fast, but then to step back to the starting position every time rather than their feet just being set. Okay? So as you progress that one, and we get good at forward step, pushing off the heel, eventually we can start to do laterals and start to do lateral step ups and all kinds of different crossovers and curtsy lunges and lateral loaded lunges and push off dynamic lateral lunges on a ramp on the floor. There's all kinds of stuff to progress this to. But in the beginning, let's get really good at going backwards, as that's our biggest concern. And then let's get a little bit better going forward. And let's build a base there at them getting really good at those two. Because practicing lateral stabilities and mobilities when you can't do sagittal, where we spend most of our life, there's really limited returns in doing so. You have to establish a base of ability and strength and even dynamic power ability in the sagittal planes to get the carryover laterally that's really going to give you a good turnover, good to the point where if they fall directly 90 degrees to the right, they can rescue and return to standing, okay? Now, I didn't have the time to go deep into all of this as much as I wanted to, but if you're a TOA Select member, you're going to see all kinds of stuff in there on this, as this has been my obsession, if you will, over the last 3 to 4 months. We have 2 other webinars that are in there under the continued education content, and 2 more coming in 2025. Now, anybody that's not TOA certified and or is not a TOA Select member, used to be $100 a month. We've dropped it down to $69 a month over a year. Rather than it being $1,400, it's now $800, whatnot. It's over $400 in savings that we've put in there for you. $1,200 down to $800, or $776 or whatever it comes up to. Okay, over $400 savings, because we want as many people in this program as we can get, because the information we are producing now, we've really got it dialed, we've really got it directed, how to apply this immediately, and we have programming that goes with it. So if you want workouts to assist and help you implement all this, all of that is located in TOA Select. You get TOA certified, your TOA certification, it's all built in there. You have the exercise library, over 400 exercises just in exercises, another 300 in mobility, so 700 cataloged exercises all in there, plus last year's 12 webinar topics, 2025's 12 webinar topics, all the CEUs to boot with all of that. So you're going to get 3.6 CEU hours between all 3 of those things we just talked about, and the 2 new courses that we have coming out over the next 12, 16 months. So a lot of really good value in there, and workouts every month, all in either the $69, or if you want all the programming, the $99 a month version. full CEUs, all that great stuff. There's tons of backlog, catalog content that you can basically go in and just do like a search engine. Lower back issues, boom, there's 6 videos. Plantar flexion issues, boom, there's 2 videos. I want you to be able to find whatever info you need. And that's why we've built TOA Select. Cindy, awesome, thank you. I highly recommend Select. Worth every dollar spent. Cindy, thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. I did not tell her to say that. It's awesome you chimed in right there. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, this is my baby, you guys. Like this has been the whole thing that I've built for Select is why FitBody was interested in me coming on as their director of education, is to build that for the entire franchise, but built in their philosophy of training, right? In a boot camp. What I just did with you all right here, we can't do in a boot camp format. So we have to implement that a different way for that group. That's part of what we implement in here for you is how can you do this with a one-on-one, just like we did today, in a small group, and a larger group, and a boot camp, and so on. There's different strategies for all that, and we cover quite a bit of that in Select and or in private mentoring if that's of interest to you, okay? All right, any questions? Any comments, anything about any of the services we have, feel free to go over to trainingtheolderadult.com and click on there. If you want to get training yourself, like you want to do workouts, that's our TOA bunker, and that's $50 for the first month. We've got a buttload of workouts in there for you and a whole bunch of follow-alongs with me where I'm just suffering and sweating and cursing. Super fun. And that's a really good one. And we have programming in there. There's between 12 and 36 workouts every month. And I say that meaning whichever track you follow, our beginner, intermediate, advanced, and in-house, we have all of those. There's 12 of each one every single month. So you get a lot of really good content for the value there. So if you have any interest in either of those, all are on sales right now. And we're not like, you got 2 days for the Black Friday. It's the whole month. You got the whole month. If you have any interest, let us know. All right, gang, I'm going to go into some questions here from everybody. If you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A for me since our chat is not working. I appreciate you all being here. We are a couple minutes over, so if you have to go, I totally get it. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got some good information out of it. I appreciate you being here and spending your time with me. That's the one thing I can't give you back. I can give you a product or money or whatnot, but I can't give you back the time. So thank you for being here. I hope you got some really good information from it and have some strategies of what you can implement with your people right away, what assessments to look for, which ones you can actually score, and some of the exercises to then start doing, and the homework with the lacrosse ball or some little bands or just all the little foot drills. Take advantage of all that stuff. Make up, this is what I do. Let me show you these. These are, my wife has a laminator, a little laminating machine. So we make up little cards like this with a personalized menu for each client. And we'll give them these and be like, here's your menu. That's the foot drill or a shoulder rehab one or whatever it is. And so we've got a whole bunch of these. And then I make all my workouts. These are my little workouts that I do. And so I've got all of these made up. And every day we can like just pick a different workout or a different menu for the client as they come up. Clients really appreciate that kind of stuff, especially if you laminate it and like build it up like that. Be like, look, man, I gave you all this effort here. Like the least you can do is actually do this and practice it. And they can be simple ones. Like just put them, be like, while you're watching your TV show, take out the lacrosse ball and start squeezing it with your big toe. It doesn't have to be like, I got to go work out now. These are just little drills they can do anytime. All right, let's get into it. Will we start on time? Yes. Tony, would you recommend those shoes for coaching on FitBody mats? Yes. I have been having issues with my feet. Absolutely, Tony. The Go Ruck shoe, I don't know if the story is exactly like this, so don't quote me. 2 guys came together. They were building shoes for Noble. Their missions and whatever they wanted to do kind of split. One went to Go Ruck. The other one works for Noble. So if you see those shoes, they are somewhat similar, but the heel on the Go Ruck shoe is the big difference for me. It's slightly elevated and it's got a little bit of a cup to it that helps you stabilize in your heel. I find it to be a great lifting shoe and a shoe to walk about in as it gives you good support. It mimics an Olympic weightlifting shoe without all the rigidity to it. That's why I like these so much. Now that's their cross training shoe. Now they have a regular like runner and their outdoor cross trainer, their rucking shoe. And that's what I'm wearing now. That's the one that I'll do all my sagittal and walk around stuff in. But if I'm lifting, I use their cross-training lifting shoe. They've got one for running, one for walking, one for rucking and or lifting in. So check those out. They're great. Couple of different color schemes, but for the most part, it's just a real basic shoe, but they're really good. I'm coaching and have to jump off. Okay, no problem. Large dowel versus the hiking stick. Which do you prefer? Anything. Dowel rod, golf club, PVC pipe, anything. Hiking sticks. The hiking sticks have, the little curved handles and it's a little more comfortable. You can adjust them. So if a client's like, hey, I'm 6 foot versus 5 foot, and instead of holding up, it's little things that just make it a little bit more comfortable, but any of it works. I have one client that uses her Swiffer mop at home and just holds onto the Swiffer, like plants it on the ground, and the wide base works great. Okay, just you're utilizing this as an assisted tool, but not a crutch. So if you were going to put a ton of weight on it, I'd be like, get the hiking stick just in case your PVC pipe breaks or something like that. But it's just a stabilizing guide kind of tool. The one time we do put a lot of pressure on it is if the rear leg is elevated and they have weight in the other hand and we're going deep. That's when we'll see people put 30, 40, 50 pounds of pressure down on there. But we're training for big range of motion, so I want the stability. That's the one where I'd be like, get a good hiking stick for that one. But outside of that, any of them will work. How do you spot bench press? Not at the elbows. Thank you, John. Long running joke of one of our most aggravated points that we see in almost every single promo, picture or video. Someone's benching and their hands are right under their elbows. Suffered one of the worst injuries of my life being spotted that way. Both dumbbells, as my spotter pulled my elbows up, buckled in and cracked a couple ribs and tore a couple intercostals. And I had costochondritis for 8 months. It was miserable. So you spot at the wrist, by the way, and lift their wrist up as you struggle. Do not spot at the elbows. All right. Frequency of toe exercises weekly with clients. So if it's the one that I showed you, the whole menu, I would do that like every other day. Okay, maybe twice a week minimum. 3 times a week would be great. The one where they're trying to grip, the one I was demoing in that video, trying to grip and like pick it up a couple of times, and then the big toe crushing down daily. Right? If they could do that daily, that's what I'm saying. Like you can just like make a game out of it. Like while they're sitting watching a show during the commercials, just try to crush the ball with your big toe. The biggest takeaway that I get from reading all of this stuff is the stronger that big toe can flex down, the less likely they are to fall. That's the bottom line. The mobility key, the pliability, and how well they can break that toe up in multi-direction, all that stuff was great. But what was the bottom line? What did it all funnel down to? How strong can you dig your toe into the ground? Because that's going to keep you from falling over or stopping your momentum as you start to get out of control, out of balance. The big toe is the key. And that's why if you have diabetes, neuropathy, etc., and you allow these injuries, my brother, both of his big toes have had severe infections to the point where he almost lost one and the other one wasn't too far behind. And I'm like, dude, do you understand that if you lose that toe, you're gonna fall constantly? Like your other little toes just don't have the leverage. The big toe has the musculature around the big toe is 3 to 4 times more dense than your little toe because of usage. Better angle of pull, it's longer, you have more leverage on there, and it's placement for your body weight. When you roll through your foot, it's the last point of contact. So it just gets a lot of work. So it gets built up more than the others. Well, imagine that's gone. Like how great are your hands if your thumbs were missing? Like you can still do stuff, but not as much. You just lost 80% of your grip strength, if not more, right? I mean, you're not opening ketchup bottles anymore. Like that's how important the big toe is to the feet, your thumbs to your hand. So you got to take care of those things. And it's like, the stronger we get it, the better. I don't mean to be like, there's kind of a common joke about Huberman. And they're like, if you did everything Andrew Huberman told you to do, you'd have no time to do anything else. You'd be spending hours in the cold plunge and the sauna and the red light therapy and, showing your stuff to the sun and grounding and like everything else that he says you got to do, right? 180 hours of cardio, blah, blah, blah. If you did all that, you never have. So I don't want that to become this, where it's like Rob says, I got to do this for my shoulders and this for my back and this for my feet. In particular, you have a client, it's like you're a big fall risk. Okay. They're doing their Romberg thing. They're spinning, they're egg beating when they're walking. Every time they come in the gym, you're like, oh geez, oh no, you're spotting them on big toe, big toe, big toe, big toe. Like that's their biggest concern right now. Get your big toes strong because that's only going to help them. Outside of that, 2 times a week, let's just do general maintenance for everybody, right? Because we don't want them to become that. That's my concern is like sarcopenia of the body can occur if you just go total bed rest 3 to 4 days, you'll lose upwards of 5% of your muscle mass. Okay, as far as density goes, you don't actually lose the muscle mass. Not till 10 to 14 days later, then you start to actually lose muscle mass. But in between there, it's shrinkage, right? Everything's starting to lose its pump. You're starting to reduce in size. Same thing's happening at the big toe. If you're not using it, you're losing it. And the big toe is much like a frozen shoulder. If you just say like the next 10 years, I'm not going to put my arm over my head, and then try 10 years later, you won't be able to do it. Your body just goes, dude, we don't need to do that. So we're just going to lose that ability. You never practice it, and you definitely don't do it with weight. So why would we hang on to that ability? You could do the splits when you were 13. You can't now. What happened? You stopped doing the splits, right? But there are 80-year-olds out there that have been doing yoga the whole time. They can still do the splits. It's use it or lose it. So the big toe is not used if you're not walking in multiple directions, you're not getting any kind of toe break on the ground, you're not going up and down stairs, it's not pliable, it's going to freeze, it's going to shorten up, you're going to get that hallux rigidus, and you're going to become a huge fall risk. And so simply adding calf pumps and big toe crushers on that ball could drastically improve their ability not to fall down, which statistically means all that other stuff I spent the first 20 minutes talking about, right? That's where all of this comes into like, okay, so I could spend like 10 minutes a week, 2-3 minutes every other day doing this, and it's going to save our country $80 billion, right? I mean, anyway, start ranting, people. I start ranting. Nobody's even on. Everyone's gone. I'm still talking to myself here. Just kidding. All right. Any other questions? Sometimes I feel like I can just create more questions as I continue to talk. All right, I'll throw this back up here one more time if anybody needs to grab any of the info. My email is on there as well, robertlinkle@gmail. You can see me on Instagram, on YouTube. If you don't follow us on YouTube, please go over there and give us a like and a subscribe. We're really trying to grow over there. I've been at like 2,700 subscribers for the last month. I would love to get up to 3,000. So if you could help us out over there, that would be awesome. And yeah, I guess that's it. Facebook, we're on Facebook. Yeah, that's a wrap. Really cool thing we have coming up in the future. We are going to email, I think this comes out next week. We are going to email all of you, and we are going to ask you to send in it's a prompted discussion point, a problematic client. We call it the I Have a Client Who series. And in this prompt, it says, I have a client who, and you tell us the problem, what's their limitation, et cetera, but also what are their stats? How tall are they? How much do they weigh? How old are they, et cetera. You send us that, and then I am going to do a troubleshoot, basically, mock programming component on it, and break down what we think you should be doing with that client from the best of what you've told us to help them get better. I'm going to try to do one of those every month. We did this at our workshop and everybody loved it. It was by far the most highly ranked session that we had at the conference, 3-1 over. Everybody was great, but they loved that session because we were troubleshooting live real problem clients. So instead of me saying, I have a client named Steve and blah, 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 and hoping it lands with you, I'd rather take one of your real clients and do it. And so we're going to look for that email. That's going to be prompted coming out here soon. And we'll be able to hopefully answer quite a few of you as we do this. Is the $69 select membership just for those that join in December? Oh no, it's all year. That's the price all year long. The bunker one is $50 for the first month. Basically, it's our discount to let you get in there and try it, and then that goes to the $99. But this is $69 a month for a whole year. Basically, any certification you go out there to get that has any kind of depth to it, they range between $800 and $5,000, some of these ones, even more. And I'm looking at this going, I want to make it affordable, and I want to allow coaches who are just kind of getting into this, give you the knowledge that you need, get you certified, give you your CEUs, do all that, but not break the bank at the same time. So if I can offer you that service between $69 and $109 with or without programming, or $99, whatever it is, I think it's $99, with or without programming, if I can offer you that, right, over 12 months and give you a $700, $800, whatever that comes up to, $800 certification, but make it easy for you to be able to pay for it as we go, I think that's a win for everybody. We hold value for our product. You don't have to pay $5,000 for a weekend course that you go to, and then it's like, I got this download of all this stuff. Well, what do I do now? I got a manual. I need more help. Well, that's what we do. We add stuff to Select every single week. It's not just the certification. It's not just the exercise libraries. We add new content, at least 2 new videos every month, but more like 1 every week. I put a ton of content in there, a ton of it. We literally have 1,600 videos in there, not including the exercises. Like, that's how much stuff I've recorded and put in there, to the point when people log in and they're like, I'm overwhelmed. That's why we're kind of releasing this as a new service going forward, where we're taking some of the old stuff out, because it's just, it's older, outdated content. And I'm like, let me just give them the best stuff, the newest stuff. And so that's what our version of this is. We do have content on Original Select from 2015. And it's just a lot of that information, we don't coach that way anymore. So I want to redo that. That's why we're moving this forward, right? All new content coming in. It's as Cindy put on there, we try to deliver to you the absolute best service and value for your dollars invested. And we have yet to have anybody that's like, this wasn't worth it, right? So hopefully we can continue to do that. You want to give it a go, we'd love to have you be a part of it. And we're always here. I mean, I get text messages and emails and stuff from everybody. You are my people. This is my TOA community. I am here to help you. And so as long as I'm not building an hour-long program for you, right? If you got a question, this and that, I'm your guy. I got you. All right, team, I'm going to wrap it there. 20 minutes extra. I hope you enjoyed it. The 20 of you, 15 of you that have made it this far, thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Again, I hope this was good, actionable information. If you want to give a little review or send me an email, let me know what you thought. Always love the feedback. And until next time, enjoy. Have a great day. We appreciate you. And we will see you, let's see, the middle of January, I think, is our next free webinar like this. You'll see that. And look for the mock emails coming up, all that good stuff. But until then, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, everybody. Take care.